My wife died in a sudden accident. Days later, I inherited her secret penthouse. Then I opened one room. I believed I knew everything about my wife. For 27 years, Grace never gave me a reason to doubt her. We shared every birthday, every holiday, every struggle. At least, that's what I thought. Then she died. The police called it a tragic highway accident. One moment she was driving home, and the next, she was gone. At 68 years old, I thought losing her would be the hardest thing I'd ever face. I was wrong. 3 days after the funeral, I received an unexpected call from a notary. He asked me to come to his office immediately. I assumed it was about insurance or our savings. Instead, he placed a single set of silver keys on the table. "Mrs. Grace Wilson left you a property," he said. "A property?" I asked. He nodded. "A luxury penthouse in the city." I laughed because it sounded impossible. We had spent our entire marriage living in a modest home. Grace always insisted we save money. She clipped coupons, drove an old sedan, and never bought expensive jewelry. So how could she secretly own a multi-million-dollar penthouse? When I demanded answers, the notary simply replied, "Your wife instructed us never to discuss how she acquired it." Those words haunted me. Suddenly, every business trip Grace had taken over the past 30 years came rushing back. Every time I asked where she was going, she smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, "Don't worry, I'll tell you someday." That someday never came. For nearly a week, I convinced myself I would sell the apartment without ever stepping inside. Whatever secrets it held belonged to the past. But curiosity is stronger than grief. The building stood in the heart of downtown, surrounded by glass towers and private security. The receptionist looked at my keys, smiled politely, and whispered, "We've been expecting you." My stomach tightened. The private elevator opened directly into the penthouse. The lights were already on. I froze. Someone was inside. Slowly, I walked toward the living room, expecting the worst. An elderly woman sat calmly beside the fireplace, holding a framed photograph of Grace. She looked up at me without surprise. "I've been waiting for you, Robert." Every instinct told me to leave, but something in her voice kept me there. "My name is Eleanor," she said. "I promised Grace I'd explain everything if anything ever happened to her." She led me down a hallway to a locked wooden door. My hands shook as I unlocked it. Inside wasn't a bedroom. It was an office. Shelves stretched from floor to ceiling, filled with hundreds of neatly labeled folders. Every folder carried a family's name. Victims, survivors, children. Eleanor quietly began explaining. Grace had never traveled for business. For more than 3 decades, she secretly volunteered with organizations that rescued women and children escaping violent homes. The penthouse wasn't her private retreat. It was their sanctuary. Families lived here temporarily, while starting over. Grace paid the expenses herself, using money she had quietly inherited years before. She never told me because she feared recognition would change the reason she helped. Then Eleanor handed me one final envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. "My dearest Robert, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. I'm sorry I kept this from you. It was never because I didn't trust you. I simply believed kindness is most powerful when no one expects applause. You can sell this place if you wish. I won't blame you. But if even one frightened child finds safety here after I'm gone, then a part of me will still be alive. With all my love, Grace." I couldn't stop the tears. In that moment, the mystery that had haunted me became the greatest gift she had ever left behind. I never sold the penthouse. Instead, I worked beside Eleanor, continuing the mission Grace had protected for so many years. Months later, I handed the apartment keys to a young mother holding 2 terrified children. She broke down crying and whispered, "You saved our lives." I wanted to tell her the truth. It wasn't me. It was Grace. People often ask how I survived losing the love of my life. The answer is simple. Every time another family walks safely through those doors, I see her again. I thought I inherited a luxury penthouse. In reality, I inherited my wife's greatest secret and the extraordinary legacy of love she left behind.